6:32 on Tuesday, May 20th, and I am calling the Village of North Hudson Park Board meeting to order. I'm going to take roll call. Commissioner, and if I say your name wrong, please tell me. Commissioner Flater.
Here.
Helgeson.
Here.
Commissioner Martinez.
Here.
Commissioner Ortner.
Here.
Commissioner Ryder.
Here.
And Commissioner Wolf.
Here.
And I am the chair, Mary Micker, and I am present. So the first order of business is to review and approve the minutes from the Park Board meeting of April 3rd, 2025. They should be posted with the meeting information. Is there?
Did not receive
No,
those
they weren't.
through email.
They weren't last month either.
Okay, they are posted on the website, and what I can do is I guess I'll just read them quickly. If you haven't had a chance to review them, that's probably the best approach, and I apologize that you didn't get those in advance. So I am pulling up the meeting documents for today and going to the minutes. Okay, from the April 3rd meeting at 6:30, Kirk Nelson called the meeting to order as the chair at 6:30. Answering the call were John Flater, John Helgeson, Mona Martinez, Michelle Ortner, and Randall Ryder. A quorum was present. The meeting was noticed. It was noted Todd Wolf was absent. Also in attendance was Public Works Director Matthew Howell. There was a motion by Ryder and Ortner to approve the minutes from February 4th, and that motion was carried. There were comments from the floor from Dan Schmidt at 756 Summit Lane North, who stated he'd like to see the comments from the floor be less restrictive. There was a request to move the meeting to the third Tuesday of the month to allow for the meeting to be televised. The motion by Ryder Ortner to move the Park Board monthly meeting to the third Tuesday of each month. The motion carried. Community garden motion from Helgeson Martinez to approve the rules and guidelines regarding community gardens as discussed. The motion carried. St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition, motion by Nelson Helgeson to participate in a joint meeting with the Hudson Park Board regarding the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition park request. The motion carried. Park walkthrough update was to be discussed at a future meeting. 2025 Parks capital budget requests, a motion by Ryder Ortner to move forward with the pickleball court fence at Summers Landing Park. Motion carried. Superintendent's report. Howell stated pickleball courts will be completed and ready for use by mid-May. No future agenda items. The meeting was adjourned at 7:05. A motion by Helgeson and Martinez to adjourn. The motion carried. Nelson declared the meeting adjourned at 7:05 by Anne Marie McDonald, recording secretary. Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Thank you. So that was a motion. I have to repeat the motion so they get it. I'm sorry, I have to repeat who approved it so they get it for the minutes. So that was a motion by Commissioner Ryder and approved by Commissioner Martinez? Mm-hmm. All right. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, hearing no discussion. Vote to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. The third item on the agenda, comments from the floor. So this is an opportunity for Village of North Hudson residents, property owners, or business owners to make the park committee aware of topics, issues, or opportunities on or not on today's agenda. So we did modify this so that people can speak to what's on the agenda or what's not on the agenda. So we'll open it up for public comment. Anyone who wants to make a comment, we'd ask that you go up to the microphone, state your name, spell your last name, and your address.
Okay, can Tavi come with us too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll take the nonverbal kids too.
I'll introduce myself first. Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Schwalbach. I live at 1247 10th Street North, and this is my neighbor. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Were you supposed to spell your last name?
Oh, do I
It'd be good. It'd be good if you did.
Schwalbach. Schwalbach.
Thank you.
Sarah. Yep.
And hi, my name is Anna Smith, Smith, and I live at 1257 10th Street North. You can start.
Sure. So we're here tonight to, I guess, bring a non-agenda item to the committee's awareness. We, as a neighborhood, have talked with several neighbors about the Chief Jensen Park that's over off of 10th Street and Alta
Railway North.
Vailway North. And we're just wanting to talk to the Parks Committee about seeing some improvements in the park. Specifically, some equipment that would be able to accommodate a range of ages for kids. Right now, the equipment that is available for the children there is pretty limited. A lot of the equipment that's in the park is gym equipment, like outdoor gym items. So there are some monkey bars that are pretty non-usable for kids. There isn't a way for them to actually get up to the monkey bars. There's no ladder or anything. They're really high. They're meant for adults.
I think they're difficult for adults to use, too.
Yes, right. There are some there's like a tall ladder that's meant as a piece of workout equipment. There's like some incremental climbing things that are just not child friendly. There's a very small piece of plastic equipment with a slide. I have a 4 and a 2-year-old. Anna has, I'll let you speak for yourself about the ages of your children.
So I have a diverse group of ages at my house. My oldest is, well, he'll be 15, and then my daughter will be 11. And then we have twin 4-year-olds, a 2-year-old, and then our little baby. So, yeah, it is challenging to play there. The slide initially was fun, but it is a very small plastic slide. And I feel like they lose interest really quickly because it's you can't even really go very quickly. And it's great like for toddlers, but I think the 4-year-olds have surpassed it.
So that's what I was going to say too. By the time that they're reaching 4 years old, what's there now isn't holding their interest, which just feels like we should have a longer age range there, being able to be accommodated.
And also, we do have a lot of children in the neighborhood. We both are newer to North Hudson. We moved in October of 2020, and we chose that neighborhood specifically because of all of the families. We came from Menominee, Wisconsin, and we needed young children. For my children to make, friends, being new to the community, and it's been wonderful. And there are a lot of families, so the park gets used a lot. We I put on myself an Easter egg hunt at the park this year, and it was amazing how many kids were there. It was awesome, but which goes to show you that it would be great if the equipment was improved.
Yes. Right. We also, one of the reasons that we moved specifically to that neighborhood in 2021 was because it had something like a community park. And while the space is great, the park itself, the play equipment itself doesn't get used as much as it could. So we wanted to bring that to attention. There are several parks, there's like the park, I was going to look up the name, right downtown Hudson with the big blue slides, right over by the ice skating rink that they have. I don't know if anybody knows.
Jenny's Corner.
What's that one?
Jenny's Corner.
Jenny's Corner, okay.
St. Croix.
Yeah, so they have just a broader range of equipment that can accommodate.
Like the matting.
Yes, and the other piece with the park is the sand. If we had the opportunity to update the park, having something other than sand, the age-old problem of sand, with like a cushy matting, or I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, with like a cushier bottom park, could be a great to make that neighborhood.
I mean, I don't even hardly ever see that park used over there. I mean, there are kids riding their bikes through our area. I mean, we have those paths, which are amazing. But yes, if the equipment was updated in some kind of a nice cushy padding, especially with monkey bars or what have you, it would get used a lot more.
Okay. I think that's all we had to share. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Wonderful.
Could I respond?
Yeah, did you have a question?
We've discussed some of these issues.
Yes.
I mean, we haven't made a lot of progress. I think part of our problem is money.
Yeah.
To do the things. The other is, what should we be doing? We did do a walk through all the parks, and we evaluated what was there and what needed repair, and some discussion of what we need to update. But it would be really helpful for me, and I think the committee, if you could just jot down some things you'd like,
Sure.
because I suspect that's the case with other parks too. Mm-hmm. That'd be very useful, because it's on our agenda to talk about budgetary items, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Can I also just, a positive here? The landscaping is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Whomever is in charge of that, all the flowers around the park, when you get into the park, the flagpole, that is gorgeous.
It's a very pretty entrance to the park, which
The bathrooms are so nice.
is one of the reasons that you get in there and you're going, shoot, I feel like we
were misled.
would love to spend more time here, and there's just not much to do at the park. Yeah. And so to your point, Mr. Ryder, I think that's a great call out. Being more specific about what the asks would be. Am I hearing that correctly?
Just make a list. Yeah.
Did you have another question or comment about that, or no?
I guess when you talk about matting, are you talking about like rubber mulch, or are you talking like an ADA inclusive playground type thing? Because
Is that really expensive?
that's real expensive. Yes, and I will go there. I work for a Parks and Rec department, so I kind of know how expensive they can
Is that
be.
what that Jenny's Corner is?
That I don't know, because I have not been down to that park.
I believe it is. It does have that cushy.
Yeah, but that could be an inclusive playground, which in the city that I work with, we fundraised for that, and we did there was a major fundraising effort for that.
Right.
So I was just kind of curious on, like, when you say cushy, like, are we talking like rubber mulch, which is a little bit cheaper than like an ADA
Right.
inclusive playground? I mean, something to think about as
Is it, I mean, I don't know, and granted, I don't know how lucrative we could be with lemonade stands, but is this something we could fundraise
Yeah.
for too?
Yeah.
So I would encourage you to, we've definitely got your comments today, and those are really helpful and really great. And I appreciate Commissioner Ryder's recommendation or request that you put it in writing. All of the village board members' addresses, as well as the public works director and the administrator, are all on the website. So you could send it to pretty much any of the above. If you want to do fundraising, obviously, I'd say that would be something to speak with Gina about, how that would work. I mean, obviously, the village accepts grants. We've accepted gifts. There's lots of things that we can do, and so I would encourage you to reach out to the administrator, or if you email me as well, I'll make sure that we get your information to the right place.
Okay.
Those are wonderful, super great ideas. Thank you.
Great. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And yes, and thank
like
you,
the age.
Octavian, for showing up and helping us. Other comments from the floor?
Hello, Board. Roger Beavers, Bevers, 419 Murchok Circle North, Hudson. It's nice to have the public come here and ask you how to spend your money. It's kind of rewarding to give you ideas. I'm here tonight to give a shout out to Matt and the Public Works crew for the fine job they did in the pickleball courts, and also putting the fence up around the courts, because when you get this body mass moving, you need a fence to stop it from falling.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with that. But there's this one little thing that could be done to help with the safety and keeping the courts in good working condition, and that's painting them. Okay, there's 100% acrylic paint that's out there, and it's very simple to do. I know it could cost, it probably could cost $800 to $900 a quart because of the paint, and that's counting labor. That's just the materials of it. All right, what that acrylic paint is it has a little traction in it, which stops the players from falling and slipping. And it also has a UV barrier on it, too, that holds the color of it and also preserves the asphalt. So it's just one of those things that I think the board I hope they take a consideration of it. And like you talked about it, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Hudson Community Pickleball Association, because they have their own courts, and these are public courts that we have. But I drive by all three courts constantly, because I head south on 4th Street. I see Glen Oaks Park. I go north. I see the two at Summers Landing, and the courts are being used. There's no doubt about it. Michelle's got one right by her house, and you can see it. So, I mean, you're going to see a lot of play on them, and I wouldn't be surprised if something you got to look at also is what they call round robin organized play, like where Summers Landing is with the two courts. You're going to get 8 to 10 people coming up there, and they're going to play for 2 hours and do a round robin and play 6 games. But hopefully, Todd, it doesn't. I know you're right there near there. Yeah. But anyway, so I just wanted, if you just kind of consider it, but there is a lot of public help out there that wants this, because the Hudson Community Pickleball Association, they closed their membership at 400 members.
Wow.
And I play pickleball down south in Arizona. I just got back today. We have over 700 members in our community that play pickleball, and we have 32 courts. So just to let it out there for you that we can go a little bit further in there, do enhancing, and make them more useful. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
One comment I'll make for the public is that the Village of North Hudson now has on the village website, northhudsonwi.gov, has on the Public Works a non-emergency Public Works request form that can be filled out online. The items that can go into the online request form include your maintenance things, potholes, dead trees that are in the right-of-way, storm sewer backup. Work request for a park is on there with space to put in work requests for parks, which I think would include painting, other maintenance kinds of items. And then there's an other too. So it's a really great enhancement. I think we've only had that it's been less than 2 months that's been available for residents, and it's a really wonderful new way for us to get information to our public works for things that need to be maintained or addressed.
Well, and this is great too, hearing ideas. I love this. So thank you all.
Thanks for letting us be here.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, number 4, community garden update. So our public works director, Matt Howell, isn't able to be here this evening. I have a little bit of an update, and maybe some of you have more of an update than I have. There are, I believe, 15 garden spots that have been put up now, so that means they're a raised garden that were made by our Public Works Department. There's soil in them. They have been taking applications, and the last I heard, there were still some spaces open, so I don't know if that's changed. I don't have a real current update, so anyone who's listening, if you're interested in having a garden plot at the community garden, it's $20 per year. And it is available at, I've got the park, and you guys probably know it better than...
Woodcrest Park.
I'm sorry?
Woodcrest Park.
At Woodcrest, thank you. At Woodcrest, bottom of the alphabet, park on 606 Prairie Drive North. Recommendation is to put up some sort of fencing, and several of the spots appear to be planted and have some sort of fencing. There's some requirements around the fencing. There's a little bit of I think this committee had approved, or the park board had approved some rules or guidelines, and so those are available for anyone who wants a plot. And they're operating during the posted park hours, and that is what I know. Anybody else have any?
No.
Okay. So the next item is the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition, discussion only. So as we saw at the minutes, the last meeting, the park board approved meeting with the Hudson Park Board to talk about the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition's vision for the land down by the bridge or by the trestle area by Lake Malilu. I don't know. I've tried to get information before this meeting, and I wasn't able to determine if that meeting was held or not. Does anyone?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, I think there's a little bit of confusion here.
Yep, okay.
I think this is separate from the Lake Malilu Park, as it's being called, which involves land that various entities own.
Mm-hmm.
And so I recommended that we meet with the Hudson Park Board because there doesn't seem to be anyone heading anything up. There's a lot of individuals that are very interested, and there's a plan, but that again is an individual seems to have constructed it. So there isn't a group, a focus group on that. The county is doing what the county is doing, and they put in part of a trail up here in the north. But the issue with Lake Malilu and the park, they're calling it a park, it was going to be that we were going to meet with Hudson Park Board, so we could discuss.
So the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition, a subset of that is the Lake Malilu Trestle Park Committee, and so I have talked to Susan Huser, and she and Amy Noonan, who's our representative from the village, as well as the former park board chair, Kirk Nelson, and they are happy to attend that meeting, facilitate that meeting. I'll try and find out if that meeting was held or not, and we'll pick it up from there. So that's one thing on meeting with the city, and then the second thing is that the Lake Malilu Park Trestle, which is the subset of the Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition, has offered to come and provide regular updates to this board if this board is interested in partnering with them. And I believe there was also discussion about if there was a recommendation, there was a recommendation to the board from this board, to the village board from this board, to engage in discussions around that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So would you be interested in having a agenda item regularly to get updates and understand where that's going and what they're looking to have from the village and the park board?
Yes.
I guess I have a question. Who is the they? It's not clear to me who's doing this.
It's the St. Croix Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition has the Trestle Park is part of that, so that is the they. So it would be Susan Huser and Amy Noonan and potentially Kirk Nelson.
Okay. Because what was presented to us in terms of a plan, I think they estimated about $1.5 million to do what they want to do, which in my mind kind of went beyond what is going on with the bike trails. So I'm
Right, that's correct. Yes, the bike trail is one thing. They're trying to connect all the way to the trail that the county has made, but they're also now talking about putting in the park down by that little area by Lake Malilu, where the land is jointly owned by the village, the city, and the town of Hudson, and have a fishing pier and some other amenities there that connect to the trail. And so the fact that there isn't clarity on their vision, I think, is a really good reason to have them come back and talk about that. And Susan said that she would have maps and other things available for the park board if you're interested in.
Does the new property owner fall under the
Ownership or?
with the subdivision portion of the village ordinances where there may have to be parkland?
So the new owner presented a vision for potential development to the board at last month's meeting, and that is recorded if you're interested in seeing what he presented. That land right now is zoned as conservancy. So what, that's really not even on the table right now. So it's going to the Plan Commission, and that'll be the next step. So that's a really good question, and we need to look at what the requirements are for development regardless, because what we know right now is we've got a lot of parks that aren't developed, and some of them are ravines, just like a lot of them are ravines.
And poison ivy and
Yeah.
drainage ditches.
Yes, so I think that is really good, like what do we really need associated with development to have a meaningful space for people that is parkland?
We can take cash. And we made
Okay.
one developer do that a few years ago.
Okay. So what we'll do is put this on for the next meeting. And then the next item is a park walkthrough.
Well, let's back up. What do we plan to do with that?
We will ask them to give an update for
Okay.
what they're doing, what their actions are, and present some materials so that you've got something to look at.
Any monies, expenditures that they expect? A budget that they expect?
I don't know that they're making an ask. If they're making an ask of money, that would go to
Well, there's not so much an ask of what it's gonna cost.
you certainly
whether
can
it's-
ask them what it's gonna
Yeah.
cost.
Am I correct in, the village board has not supported this concept? Is that correct as a board formally?
Yes, I would say that's right. Yep, correct. Other questions before we go to the next item? Okay, park walkthrough, update, discussion, and possible recommendations. So I wasn't clear if I was not clear if the park walkthrough had happened or not. Can someone illuminate me on where we are?
Randall, you
Well,
got all the stuff.
we did a walkthrough and we came up with a list of things that need to be done, but I don't know what the disposition is of that list. Maybe other members that did the walkthrough are aware of what may have happened to our list. I don't know.
I've got.
I know, but I mean, in terms of it being acted upon,
Correct, we haven't
yeah.
gotten any of these done yet.
Right.
Okay, so there was a walkthrough, and there
Correct.
is a list of things that need to be done.
Yes.
I would say, can someone get me that list?
Sure.
That would be awesome. I did a walk.
Email that to everybody. I never saw anything either.
I don't remember
get it
seeing
posted.
it.
Did your group,
do
there were
have-
2 groups. Do you have yours?
I
Randall?
have a copy at home. I don't have one with me.
Okay.
I don't either.
I will pull it out and circulate it
Okay.
via email.
Well, that was for our specific groups. Weren't there 2 groups? Did you get the other?
Yeah, I didn't get the other one.
So 2 groups did walkthroughs.
Right.
You
Yeah.
split up the parks.
We split them
Okay.
up.
And does anyone know who has the other list?
You know, Matt might.
Okay.
I think Kurt was in charge of that
Kirk was
second
in
group.
charge of, yeah.
That second group.
Okay, I'll ask Kirk if we can get a copy of that.
Kurt.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if you can do that, Randall, that would be great. What I would foresee doing is combining the 2 lists,
yeah.
and we can post them on the public website for the next meeting. Then the public will know what we're looking at, and we can use those for number 7.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I did a walkthrough myself in anticipation of being, well, once I was appointed the chair. And I set up a spreadsheet with all the parks and some basic information like the address, the acreage, if they were accessible. I've got basic notes about the playgrounds, but not to the depth of, I've got like basically this is toddler, this is infant, this is school age, but not like a lot of detail. This is old equipment, this is new equipment. We probably need a lot more detail on the types of equipment to actually do some capital planning around that. But I think what I will do also is post that so everybody can get a copy of it. And it's a giant spreadsheet, and some of it is not going to be useful. Like I've even went into like, is there picnic tables? Is there water access? Is there beachfront? And tried to associate the capital list that I had seen from a couple meetings ago with that. But we can take the other items that you have, I think, and also start to put them in for each park, the capital items for each park, and then prioritize them.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. All right.
Is it possible to ask a question?
Technically no, but go ahead. But you need to go up there.
That's fine. I'm sorry. I'm just obviously newer to the area, so just curious. Okay, again, Anna Smith, SMITH, 1257 10th Street North. So I am curious. I actually worked for St. Croix County years ago, and so I remember my supervisor at the time lived in North Hudson, and so I remember the parks. And so now, kind of like off of Helen Street, there's a little park, and then off of 10th Street down into kind of like
A ravine.
yes, there's a park, and isn't there another deer? Is the
Deer Run
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
on Summer Street.
Yes, we actually took some pictures there for promotional purposes. Yeah, when I worked for the county. Anyway, so I'm just curious if it's your intent to maintain all of these when it seems as though a lot of them don't get a lot of use. Just because, like the park that we're talking about, and granted, maybe we're biased, in our neighborhood, there are a lot of children. And it is heavily trafficked. So some of those other parks that don't seem to get much use at all, and a lot of the equipment could be old, I just don't know if the plans are to maintain them.
So that would be the question on park maintenance, and the priorities for maintenance would be something that this board would be establishing, and then we would send that to the village board, and the village board would decide what resources were available, and listen to our priorities and make the final decision. So what you're describing is like a long-term strategic comprehensive plan for the parks, which is what we need to develop.
Okay, thank you.
You're spot on. Okay, so that brings us to any other questions on the park walkthrough? I'm going to check with Kirk. Commissioner Ryder's going to send his. We're going to put them together, post them, and try and sort them out according to each park and try and do some priorities. Any other comments or questions on that? Yeah.
I guess my only question is Deer Run, that's up by my house. Last summer, there was a bunch of wood chips. I'm going to use that term lightly, that were dumped.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been in a pile. However, they're not really wood chips. They're really like thicker logs. And it looked like they just kind of got thrown through the tree thing. Is there a plan to make those smaller, get better wood chips? Or is that kind of going to be, they're going to get spread out at some point? Because some of those wood logs are not safe for kids to be playing on. I don't know if any other parks got that, but I know Deer Run does because I drive by it every day.
Yes, thank you. So this came up at the last board meeting. So our village administrator and our Gina Alberti and Matt Howell brought to the board on May 6th, multiple requests for items that I believe had been put on a list by the park board, by this board, and they determined they were actually maintenance items, and so they removed them to go to the board to vote on, including a new basketball hoop, trail repairs for Chief Jansen Park, replacing the wood chips in the parks, grass restoration at Summers Landing, replacing the cedar shakes at Chief Jansen Park, and a fence for the pickleball courts. So all of those items, they totaled about 43,600 were approved at the last board meeting, including the wood chips. So there was a lot of discussion about the wood chips at the park board, or I'm sorry, at the village board, because Public Works is getting a wood chipper. And so there was discussion about timing and all of those things, but ultimately that was approved by the board. And so the wood chips are to be removed, and they will be replaced with a more appropriate wood chip. Still not the nice soft material that we were talking about, but with a more appropriate sized wood chip made for that purpose. And I believe that Matt thought that would take about a month. So I would say sometime around the first part of next month,
Okay.
we should see the old chips gone and new chips in.
Great update.
Yes, I agree. It's great. Yeah, and so thank you for asking that question, and thank you guys for bringing that up and making sure that that was addressed. And it's really been good information for the board to have.
But just to back up on that, anytime you do anything with mulch, wood mulch, within a few years, that's all going to be dirt.
Yep.
All you got to do is spread it out. You know that. You're working in the parks. I put out over a couple hundred bags of mulch around my house every year. And it goes into fertilizer and fertilizes everything. Just spread it out, and then you can add on top of it. You don't have to physically remove it. Just spread it around, get a shallow covering, and then just keep adding to it on top of it if you're going to do wood chips.
Yeah. These needed to be removed because they were too large to have that happen.
I
So
think
they
that was
needed to go.
the chipping of the,
From the storm.
from the storm, the stuff that was up in Summers Landing Park, and
Yep.
it was just a,
Exactly.
we have to do something with it, and that's where it ended up.
Yes. I think that's exactly the sequence of what happened. Anything else on the park walkthrough? Okay, the seventh item is the 2025 Parks Capital Budget Request discussion and possible recommendations. So I think it sounds like there's a process in place to come up with what the capital budget requests will be from this, from the park board. That'll use the information from the walkthroughs. And then I would see what we'll be doing next month is prioritizing some of that information, or prioritizing those things, knowing that there's limited funds. There is about $51,000 in the park assigned fund right now. There is a very healthy capital budget for the village. The village has a very healthy capital budget because it's been very well managed, and there are resources for one-time expenses. Those decisions about those one-time expenses or capital expenses are made by the board, but the board needs to hear from the public in order to understand if these things are important to the public, and also what the park board recommends will be heard by the public. So knowing that we need to obviously be fiscally responsible and careful with the funds, it really makes sense for the board, for this board, to not go, we can't do that, that's too much money. Let's think about what the priorities are, and realize that they're going to be staged, like everything isn't going to happen next year. But there is a lot of deferred maintenance, which was really realized by the walkthroughs. And so some of those things got picked up as maintenance. Some things will be new new things, new equipment, that's new capital, so that comes out of a different fund. Some things can come out of the park fund, so there's ways to fund things. There also is, as you've talked about, there's grants, there's donations, there's lots of ways to make things happen. So I don't want us to like stop thinking or planning because we're just gonna go, oh, we can't do that. Let's try and get the ideas going and then make some priorities out of those. So the board really needs our budget by September, or our priorities by September.
By when?
September.
Okay.
So it doesn't give us a lot of time, but it gives us time. So we can get started on that process. And I think it would be really helpful for me as new to the park board if everyone just like could just, I know we don't want to be here we don't want to be here all night, but if everyone could just tell me a little bit about what you want for the parks, what you see as important, where you want to see us put some focus, and that would help me. So are you willing to spend a little bit of time doing that tonight? I thought we could just start at the end of the table and just pass the baton down until we get to the other end of the table.
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree with that. I am more at the parks down at this area, but I think we need to go through, I agree with the other ladies, age-appropriate things. There's a lot of, our village is growing, there's a lot of young kids, young families. We have toddlers, we have all different ages, and we just really need to make sure there's age-appropriate things in each park. I think through the walkthrough, we noticed that Randall, certain infant swings or teeter-totters or a little slide, a medium slide, just a lot of age-appropriate is going to be huge. That's my request, or my hope. And I want to do those things so that our families, our village can use them.
Yeah.
Instead of, and we have funds available to get these ideas to the boards and get them going.
I just have a comment. Michelle and I worked on the grant for Browns Beach for 2 years. And we finally got the grant and got it done, and it's a huge improvement.
It's beautiful.
I would like to, wherever we can use grants, I would like to try and do that some more.
Thank you guys for doing that.
That was
That's made a
huge.
big difference.
Yeah,
That was rewarding.
it was finally.
And how did you find out about the grant?
Somebody brought it up. I can't remember who it was.
That was a while back.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was brought up to the park board, and then Michelle and I worked on that, and then legal worked on another part of it. So
Wonderful.
it was really good to see the finished product after so long.
Yeah, anyone who hasn't gone to see it should see it. It's
Well, and the rails on.
really
and
nice.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
You can get down. It is not accessible for everyone. It's definitely steps, but it's very nice.
We may have to prioritize which parks,
Yes.
then that we start putting new equipment in. We've got several parks that are parks in name only, that I don't see a lot of point in putting a lot of money into when we've probably got 4 or 5 parks that should be the ones that get most of the attention as far as equipment and improvements.
So start to prioritize which parks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the drainage ditches don't need swings and equipment.
And for that matter, even moving some equipment around. If there's.
And we can do that, and we have done that in the
We
past.
have done in the.
And the other thing is finally settle the matter of the area around the Lake Malibu Dam. We've only been messing with that on this board for about 20 plus years.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, when the Union Pacific said they would consider selling, and they wanted $150,000, and we told them they were nuts. And I know that's probably 20 years or more ago.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'd like sort of a long-range plan of what we want in each of the parks, and it may be that we have to sort of specialize what different parks do. So if there's an area where there's a lot more, young children, infants, maybe that could be a focus point for certain types of items. There's other areas that I think, I think more benches for people can sit, and the concept of beautification, also flowers. I don't know if that's something of interest to people, even if they're, natural wildflowers. Places where people can just sit and relax and have a little picnic with their family.
Thank you.
I really don't have too much to add that's new, because I think all what we're talking about is like a vision casting for what our park should look like or want to look like. I guess my only question would be, do we get catalogs for what a park equipment looks like, costs, and all of that? I can probably pick something up
Oh, that'd be great.
from work, just so that we can kind of look at, as we start to prioritize what park's going to be what, we
Matt,
can.
I think Matt has those.
Matt has.
Yes,
Does Matt
yeah,
get those?
the
And I don't
superintendent
know.
usually
I've
gets
never
those.
seen them,
Matt, yeah.
Yeah.
but maybe that's something to ask. And
Seen 'em
then,
either.
yeah, and bring them to us, just so then we can kind of look at, okay, in this part of the community, it's more young families, problem with that, those young kids grow up pretty
Right.
quick.
But we could get maybe
So-
get a demographic of now. I mean, I don't know if that's available.
Right,
Might be helpful.
might be helpful as we start to try to plant, and all of that. So the older community that likes the pickleball and all of that, like what park makes sense to put pickleball courts in and all of that, or, where are the teeny boppers, and where can we put equipment in for them, or fields or anything like that. So I guess that'd be more of, have a vision for what we want.
And you call it a vision casting?
Vision casting, yeah, do a vision casting party.
All right.
I guess I'm looking at, we've got almost 50 acres of parkland. We don't need to develop every square inch of it. I mean, put a bench in, but we don't need jungle gyms and swings and everything else. If it's not good at this place, come to the school, go to the other parks, visit the other parks. Each park has got their own special draw, if you will, the river, and the pine trees over here just by the middle school, elementary school. But we got to be careful that we just, because we've got the money, doesn't mean we've got to go spend it all. Just there's maintenance on this stuff, and all of a sudden now there's $50,000 on these pickleball courts. Between the fences and the maintenance and the painting and everything else, what are we going to start charging for that? You go to All World Family or Pickle in Middle Woodbury, they've got memberships. I think we should start getting some money back on this. You've got snowmobile license, UTV license, you've got this license and that license. If you want to go play pickleball, come and get your license. If you want to splash your boat in Hudson, you got to go get a license to splash your boat down in their park downtown. So we got to be very careful when we move through these parks that utilize them as they were designed and not to overbuild.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for, that was really helpful to kind of focus, and I appreciate that. The agenda items for our next agenda, I'm going to list what I think we've got, and I'll ask a couple questions. Do you want an update on the community gardens?
That's something that the superintendent's report could cover. But yeah, probably, since it's a new thing, we should probably stay on top of it.
Sounds good. And then we agreed we're going to have the bike and pedestrian trail come and talk about the trestle bridge, Lake Malibu trestle bridge. We're going to talk about the park walk-through outcomes, I guess I would call it, like the items that were noted for each park. And then we will start to do coming up with our capital budget requests from the walk-through outcomes. Other items that we should have on here?
You'll put down for Matt to check on that paint, or is pickleball in here?
The pickleball, I will do an email, yep.
Okay.
Or I'll submit it online, I'm not sure which one.
Is there gonna be a summer send-off by the,
There is not.
okay.
Yeah. That's the answer. Not this year, no summer
Not this
send-off.
year.
Yeah, okay.
I had to ask.
Anything else for the agenda for next month?
I'd like to see a budget.
A budget?
I've heard, I've been on this board, I think, a little over 10 years.
Sure.
And you're the first person I've ever heard say anything about, we've got X number of dollars to use.
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago, we had $5,000 that we got from somebody that bought, instead of him giving us property, taking the property, we, again, coerced him and he had to give us X number of dollars.
Sure.
You know, I shouldn't say coerced, that was part of written into the laws. So we opted that we wanted the cash as opposed to property. We took that and used that for the goats. Pat did that, we did that, I think, for 2 years for the buckthorn. And that's an ongoing thing, that's forever. And I've been on here almost 25 years, and I'm still at it. You gotta keep after it and after it and after it. If you don't, it's just gonna come right back. But those types of things that all of a sudden now with the pickleball courts,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to go through with the maintenance. All of a sudden, $800 a court for paint, 10,000 or more for the fences, times 3. We've got to have a budget somewhere.
So we don't have a budget. The way that it works is we make our budget request to the board, and the board sets the budget. So what we have is the account where the park monies from developers have been put, that's designated for the parks, and that's the 50,000. Every month, when the board meets, there's a finance committee as well, and so our treasurer, Nathan, does a treasurer's report. And in that treasurer's report, you can see what the general fund is that the village has. You can see the money that's designated for parks, and there's a couple, you have to look in 2 different places and put them together to get the total. But all that information is posted every month in the meeting information with the treasurer's report. The board doesn't say to the park, you have this amount of money to spend. What we tell them is this is how much we want to spend, and they make the decision. The maintenance for items is really the village's responsibility. That's what Gina has been clear in talking with me as she oriented me to this position, that the village will do the maintenance on the parks. That's not our issue to, we can certainly raise issues that need to be maintained, but the maintenance of the parks is up to the village. We are looking at the vision for the parks, what we want to see for the parks, and communicating that up to the board.
I do have one ending December 31st of 2024, by the way.
That was the annual, yes.
Right.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right. And then Nathan does a monthly update, you know, what's in the static accounts, what's been paid out, all of that information. But
So
yes.
we would have to look at on the city or the village website to find that information?
Well, you would, or I just told you what it was. Yeah.
No, but it's going to change every month, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Or it
I mean,
should.
we can, yes, it does change every month. The amount of money that, is available is fairly static. But we can talk more about that, or it's if you want to have information about how the village does the budgeting, we certainly could have it on a meeting agenda.
I guess I'm going back to budgeting where you've got roughly 50 acres you got to maintain every week for mowing. Granted, we don't mow that, but what is our cost going into that? Is it a point where we've got, if there's not one, there's 100 different people in town that are doing landscaping and yard maintenance? What is our cost? Would it be cheaper to have somebody else do it as opposed to us?
So those are decisions that are made at Public Works.
Good answer.
So next agenda, community garden, trestle, bridge, park, park walk items, capital budget, and some general budget questions. I'll see what I can do about that. And I'm going to call us adjourned unless anyone has anything
We
else.
need a motion for adjourn?
I don't think so. I think
We have traditionally.
We have.
do. Oh, okay. I
A
usually.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. The motion was
To adjourn.
To adjourn.
right from Commissioner Martinez and second by Commissioner Ortner. Is that right?
Other way around.
Other way around.
That's okay.
Commissioner Ortner and seconded by Commissioner Martinez to adjourn. All those in favor? Was passed? I'm sorry, and it is 7:28. Thank you, and the Village of North Hudson Park Board meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.